today's video is about using AI agents to recruit. Now, AI is all the buzz right now, and it will be for a very long time because it's an incredible innovation. Like any tool, it's not about the tool itself, it's about how you use the tool. A hammer is great, but if you don't have a nail to hammer in to be able to create the structure, then there's no point of the hammer, right? So it's great to pontificate and theorize about AI in a lot of different ways. As not even years, but as the days and weeks and months go by, this video is going to get outdated at some point because we're going to continue to innovate. And these AI tools are coming out of the woodwork all over the place, all across the internet. So we're going to talk to you about, as it stands today, how to use AI, or kind of an entry level mode of going into the use cases of AI. And it's not a how-to video on how to set it up, but it's about creating some awareness. So then you know where to start, and then you can start with the end in mind. Before we get started, again, my name is Jay. We here at High Ticket Teams, we are a volume-based commission sales recruiting company. Again, we help volume-based recruiting businesses build commission-only sales teams. I had a big exit from a B2B lending company that I started about 5-ish years ago to the date of this video. Last summer, we had a big exit. It took about 3.5 years. We recruited 1,800 sales reps across the country and grew that business to multiple 8 figures in revenue, had a bunch of 7-figure earners within that business, and we had a big exit. It was great. There's very few businesses out there that help other businesses do something like this. Most individuals or business owners that get really good at volume-based commission sales recruiting end up just doing it for themselves. We here at High Ticket Teams wanted to make these concepts available to the masses, and we wanted to be able to help solve those problems. So we source that and put you in a position to qualify sales reps at scale. And AI is one of the use cases, not the entire ball of wax, but we do use many use cases of AI to be able to help you within our services be able to get the exact same results I'm going to talk to you about today on screen. And again, I know you're coming to us on our YouTube channel, so please subscribe. Why? Because if you complete our free volume-based recruiting, volume-based commission sales recruiting course on the YouTube channel, and you reach out to us and show some proof that you actually did that, you may qualify for some free applicants. Okay. These are applicants that have applied to your specific job for what you're specifically trying to create out there in the marketplace. So let's talk about the use cases of AI. And I have a couple fun images here on the right-hand side. And again, you'll see in the headlines, oh my gosh, AI is going to take over the world. Are they going to take AI too far? There's a lot of theorizing about what AI is going to do. But if you really think about AI or the history of technology improvement over time, AI is just the next iteration of technology improvement. It started with hundreds of people in a field, whether it was strawberries or picking corn or whatever it was in the agricultural age of not just our country, but countries across the world. They employed a lot of people to be able to get the same exact result that the tractor was able to do by itself. The next iteration is in the industrial age, where we had a lot of people working within factories to create different products and different things like that out there. And then robotics and AI has made it so that those individuals do not have to do the jobs anymore. And again, that could be scary to the job seeker, but every single time it has not eliminated jobs. It's just moved jobs from one place to the other. Okay. Meaning instead of them working in the fields, then they worked in the factories, and now people are working from home. So check that out. From the progress of this thing, now let's talk about the use cases of actually using this new innovative AI technology into your recruiting business. So what are some of the very practical, common use cases for AI in regards to interviewing or to be able to bring on sales talent? Because as it stands today, for most industries, most businesses, yes, AI can do a lot of selling for you, but in some businesses, especially the ones that we help, they grow with individual people. You could just throw gasoline on the fire with AI. So you'll see our little image there. That is somebody going through a stack of resumes, spending all their time, all their hard work, all their energy, just to be able to, and with no process, to be able to bring on those commissioned salespeople. On the right-hand side, you'll see our fun little AI bot there, just a little representation there, going through those resumes, and they can go through those resumes in a second. So here's what you can do with AI. So applicant sourcing, you can use AI bots to pull candidate data off job boards as they apply. It's actually trickier to do than you think because the job boards don't really want you doing that, but it is possible. You could screen resumes. You can use ChatGPT or other different language learning models and AI agent bots to, based off the way that you program it to qualify that resume data so you know who you should be calling first. Because especially in volume-based recruiting, speed to lead is incredibly important. So if you go through a stack of resumes and there's 100 people and you spend time on the first 40 where the back 40 were the ones you should have been talking to, guess what? If you don't have a qualification mechanism, that can burn some time before you make it to the other candidates. And that's not a good thing. Interview bookings, text and email sequencing, and live interactions back and forth with candidates. Imagine if you didn't have a system or if you just had a traditional applicant tracking system or CRM, and you had to send text messages and emails, you can send those things automated already using AI. If somebody texted back and said, hey, the booking link didn't work, how do I book my interview? Maybe the link works, but the candidate is doing something wrong. The AI can jump into it immediately and start dialoguing with that candidate to be able to convert them into the appointment. It can adjust on sequencing. So if your traditional sequences are text, email, text, but then a candidate starts having a conversation via email instead of text messages, it could stop the texting and just go straight down the email rabbit hole because that is working with that candidate. Not just sequencing, but smart sequencing, meaning it could adapt on the fly in communication, just like us as humans can with other humans. Again, AI is meant to replace the need for you to physically have to do these lower skilled, labor intensive type of operations. And here is the kicker, actual interviews. This is my favorite part of the entire thing, which is voice AI agents to conduct pre-screening interviews with candidates. It's actually pretty incredible. And there is so many more things that AI could do, but let's just start with these four main areas, because if you can lock in these four main areas, that's about 80 to 90% of the work. And all the other stuff is just process improvements that aren't needed. It just makes your life easier. Options and considerations. Okay. The options honestly are endless. There's new websites that are coming out all the time. Synflow, Regal, Air AI, Outbound AI, Callers AI, Simple Talk AI. There is a whole bunch of different AI services that send text messages, that do outbound calls, receive inbound calls, set up sequencing, do all the whole ball of wax. Okay. There's a lot of them out there, but there's not enough time in one video or not enough bandwidth in one entire YouTube channel to talk about every option out there in the market. You could do that yourself and just do some quick Google searches or ChatGPT searches to be able to get a kind of rough understanding on pricing for most of these places. What I'm showing you on screen is not the all-encompassing. We're not even promoting them, to be honest. It's just, I did a quick Google search and these are some of the ones that pop up on the first page. But if you go 10, 20, 30 pages in, you're still going to find a bunch of them. Okay. The prices are being driven down to a commodity level when it comes to AI. That's not a bad thing. That's actually a really good thing for the consumer. There are just things you have to consider. So let's talk about it. Monthly cost. Let's talk about what your cost is. All of these tools have different stable monthly costs associated with using them. And the better the tool is, obviously, the more it's going to cost. So it could be monthly cost and also setup fees. I've seen as high as $5,000 to $10,000, or even in some cases for more enterprise level things like $25,000 just for setup fees to be able to set up the entire operation. Per call costs. Typically, the more you spend on the monthly or the setup cost, the less the per call cost is. And that ranges anywhere between, typically what I've seen is 12 cents all the way up to 40 cents per callable minute. Setup expertise. You're going to have to, unless you're a technical founder of some sort, go hire somebody off of Upwork, or you're going to have some sort of technical founder or partner or some sort of tech person on staff, not just for setup, but to be able to rely on them when things break. Because although AI is great and technology is break, it's just like that old adage, the more stuff you got, the more it breaks. It is absolutely true. There's always little stumbling block things that come about. And if you can't diagnose what it is when you got your whole setup, and you can't get to it quickly, you're going to be messing up your communication with candidates. There's going to, a lot of things could happen. So you got to be very careful about like just worrying totally about costs and getting potentially the cheapest thing into the door and prompting it, the simplest way you can, because it could create major problems down the road. I know we've had that as a company as we've adapted to different type of AI technologies, and we do not want to see you go through that. So it's not just about cost. The other thing, the fourth thing, of course, there's many more things you consider, but in an effort to keep this video short, I'm just trying to create some awareness. So as you think through this process, you are steered the right direction, is your ATS or CRM integration. If you use a CRM for recruiting, or if you use a specific applicant tracking system for recruiting, does the tool you're looking at integrate with the current software you use? That could be a no big deal to some. It could be the biggest deal to others, but know ahead of time. And sometimes these websites aren't insanely transparent around all that. And you really got to do some digging. But all of that to consider, there are some pros and cons to this. Instead of having to be really great at coding, which just a couple years ago, people will go to school or spend most of their lives to learn how to code, and they had multiple six-figure salaries to be able to code this type of thing. AI has lowered the barrier to entry to this. We do not have to know any of the coding language to make something successful. You just have to know how to prompt something. The average Joe ChatGPT user, and you start to prompt ChatGPT, meaning give it instructions to be able to give you what you're looking for. You might sit there and go, oh yeah, I got this. No big deal. I can crush this thing. I use ChatGPT all day long. You might be able to grow into it, but with anything, there's a learning curve. And the top page there, that's an example of a mapping of an AI agent working, communicating and working with itself to be able to give an output. So that's what AI can do nowadays. And it can provide, instead of sifting through code or the matrix to try to figure out what the heck it's telling you, AI bots are very user-friendly. The cons are you now need to become a prompting expert. AI performs at the level at which you instruct it. Okay. That's a very important thing here. If you don't feel comfortable, confident with that, there are a ton of resources online, probably too many resources online. But just because you subscribe, even with big dollars to some of these options, you're still going to have to figure out how to get it set up. The great thing though, is once you got it set up, it runs and it works. So let's talk about some results, right? Because you may be looking at AI for the first time, or maybe the second time, to try to figure out, okay, is this worth digging into in my recruiting endeavors? So I'm going to show you a real world example of just one of our clients internally. Okay. And this is from one day. So this is like the average client that we have. You'll see on screen that there are 68 candidates called. Actually, it says 2 days, but really it's like the end of yesterday to the beginning of today type of thing. 68 candidates called in 2 days, 3.5 hours of talk time. 3.5 hours of talk time with 100% positively received by the candidate, meaning there was no negative words thrown at the AI bot or skepticism or anything like that. So sometimes you could be sitting there going, I'm open to this idea, but are candidates really going to respond to an AI agent, an AI bot, and communicating with them over the phone for an interview? I don't know, but here's the reality. This is the new way things are done. And it's all about prompting, right? If you prompt the AI bot to be able to talk to the candidate and say, hey, a hiring manager is going to be reviewing this right after the call, speak with confidence and clarity and act as if you're talking to the hiring manager, because you really are, right? So it's the way you precondition the candidate coming onto the phone that eliminates the skepticism. And then the candidates play ball and they go, you know what, this is the way things are done nowadays. I think the last headline I saw to the date of this video, this is probably a couple of weeks ago, Chipotle has actually moved like almost 90% of its entire hiring, totally hands off, no people involved, just AI. And they're not the only ones. Okay. So this is becoming more and more of a norm. And this is one example of a small business that we work with. 68 candidates called in 2 days, 3.5 hours of talk time, 100% positively received by the candidate. And you know what the funny thing is? Even as the owner of our company, I know what happens with our clients. I know the numbers that come through, but I don't look at the stats and the call times of every single one of our candidates. I just picked a random client that we work with, pulled up their stats, and this is what it showed. And I said, that looks pretty good. 3.5 hours of talk time that was saved for the business owner. That would have been 3.5 hours that you spent on the phone with candidates, talking to them, preconditioning them, making sure they're still open to commission only roles, they're okay with the comp plan, they've got a valid driver's license, they're not a convicted felon. Answer to this question, answer to that question. It doesn't really matter. Like, you can have it asked whatever you want. This is something we do give away to anyone who meets with our team. We have prompts galore. Just let me share this real quick. We have prompts all over the place. This is a 60 something page document with prompts that we use internally to be able to help our clients. So you'll see different images and like different workflows and triggers and things like that. And that's an overwhelming amount of information. That's not really something I want to send to anybody, but there are use cases for every single prompt that we have. And over time, 63 pages of prompts is not that big of a deal if you work at it little by little over time to be able to build out an entire operation. That's what we did. But you may not have the time to build out 63 pages of AI prompts to make your entire engine work. That's where we come into play. So again, feel free, meet up with our team. This is our mid conversation plug to be able to say, get the free stuff, consume the content we put out, meet with our team, talk to the experts. And our whole goal is to help fill the gaps that you have. Worst case, if we left you better off through the conversation than we did before we met you, we're all in a good place. So that's an example of phone interactions. Here's an example of text interactions. Again, that concept of speed. Anyone who's in commission-based recruiting at any type of volume knows that the faster you get to the applicants, the better. If somebody's willing to apply for a commission-only role, that means they're probably applying for other commission-only roles too. So it's typically the first or second or third business that gets to them and actually builds trust and creates that speed is the person who's probably going to get to them. And again, you may not be in a place where you're trying to bring everybody onto your team. It's not about that. It's about having options and making sure you do not let the good ones slip through the cracks. So put the odds in your favor. In this example, 31 candidate texts in one day. On-demand contact, that means immediately. And then there was 0 candidates missed. 77 text messages, 13 minutes of time saved. The conversion rate for this business in their applicant numbers was probably dramatically saved by 10 or 15% because of the speed to lead concept. So yes, it saved time, but it also saved their funnel. The old way versus the new way. This is one of our internal recruiters. Full calendar versus pre-interviewed applicants ready for the next step. The old way, before AI existed, we used to take on the interviews for our clients, and you'll see that right there. That is somebody on our staff with full calendars. That is 8 to 10 people booked every single hour to have phone conversations with. And what you'll realize though, is that calendar is fully booked out. So if today is Monday, the 28th in that example, and the calendar is so full that somebody booked on Friday, the 2nd, guess what? By the time he makes it to Friday the 2nd to make that call, he's going to have a lot higher no-show rate or people that don't pick up the phone because they've already moved on with their life. We changed it to the AI model and we were getting the exact same results every single day that a full 8-hour calendar of calls was getting. And you'll see there on the right-hand side, that's a snapshot of one of our funnels. That's 671 people at the date of that snapshot submitted for, in this case, for that client, they host seminars. So their second stage of the recruiting funnel is to bring those people into a seminar setting. That's 671 people that conducted an AI interview and moved over to that stage of the funnel, all without any person involved. How cool is that? So you'll see I put up on the screen our high ticket teams volume-based recruiting calculator, because at this point right now, if you're already bought into the idea, you're probably thinking, Jay talked about the cost, and not just the cost of the technology, the AI agent or bot technology, but also the per call and per text rates. So there's a fixed cost, there's a variable cost. And then what's the time cost, meaning the amount of time that I have to invest to make this thing operational. And then also, what is the employee cost? Because do I have to hire somebody on Upwork to be able to help me? Do I have to hire somebody who's technically savvy to be able to help me out? Or do I have to allocate somebody else's staff time to this project, which is taking them away from what they normally do, which is hours for dollars? We have a volume-based recruiting calculator that can help you determine your costs in this entire process, but we will show you exactly how much you actually profit per hire that you make. So you could show a positive cash flow operation in your volume-based recruiting endeavor. So reach out to our team and we'll get you that. We use AI to source, vet, and help you qualify candidates so you can invest your time with the right candidates where you are celebrated and not tolerated, wasting endless hours with the wrong candidates not ready to pursue your opportunity. These are the problems we solve. This is something we're very good at. We've helped a lot of clients do this. And at the end of the day, I hope this AI training actually helped you broaden your perspective on what's possible, even if you didn't know. And whether we can help you or whether you find your own solution, at the end of the day, just get out there and do something. And worst case, meet with our team. We'd love to talk to you about some of the good, bad, and the uglies of what we faced in this entire process and how we've optimized it to be able to help a broad spectrum of different types of businesses out there: insurance, car dealerships, home improvement, door-to-door sales companies, merchant services companies, you name it, software companies, so many affiliate companies. There are so many businesses out there that we have helped implement these exact strategies. We can actually help a business get up and running, worst case, within a matter of a couple of weeks, but you don't have to hire a single staff member. The system works for you. Those results I showed you for some of our other clients, they could be yours too, depending on the volume. And we've got approaches that work for every type of business, whether you are trying to bring on 2 or 3 or 5 reps a month, or whether you're trying to bring on hundreds and you have your big corporate company. Our biggest client is a publicly traded company, and we have helped them source thousands upon thousands of applicants a day. So meet with our team or continue to review some of our free course to be able to give you the tips and tricks to be able to implement this yourself.